endpoints and malware threats. Okay. Well, there is a product. The name of the product is Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Well, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is a part of Microsoft 365 Defender. If you have got Microsoft 365 Defender subscription, which you get as a part of your M365 E5 subscription, and if you do not have the E5 subscription, let's say you have got the E3 subscription, you can purchase the E5 security add-ons and you get Microsoft Defender XDR. So what do you get with Microsoft Defender for XDR? With Microsoft Defender for XDR, you get Defender for Endpoint, which is listed in front of your screen. We get Defender for Identity, Defender for Office 365, and Defender for Cloud Apps. These are the four things which comes along with Defender XDR. Okay. Now let's focus on the first bit, Defender for Endpoint. Endpoint represents not only a computer. Endpoint can be a laptop, it can be a PC, it can be a mobile device like phone, tablets. It can be security appliances like IDS, IPS devices, intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system devices, or firewall appliances. As a part of Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, what we do is we onboard these devices. There is an onboarding script which we need to run. And once we run these onboarding scripts, the devices gets onboarded within Defender for Endpoint. We can onboard a device, we can offboard a device. Now, Defender for Endpoint will constantly ingest the security information from these endpoints. See, I'm not talking about Sentinel. I've not introduced Sentinel, the relationship between Sentinel and Defender for Endpoint yet. So I'm just focusing on Defender for Endpoint. So Defender for Endpoint will constantly ingest this kind of security signals and it will detect the threats. The way it works, Defender for Endpoint. Let's say a credential theft tool has been detected on a device. That's fine. Defender for Endpoint will tag this as an alert, but it will not stop. It will check all the other onboarded device and look for similar kind of threats, not the same kind of threats, similar kinds of threats related. Like for instance, on one machine, let's say Mimikatz has been detected, another machine, let's say PW crack has been detected. These are all credential theft tools. So if it finds more than one alert exists across multiple different endpoints, it's going to club all the individual alerts detected on individual endpoints into a single incident. In Defender for Endpoint will start investigation on those particular incident, which will lead to remediation. Now, what is the relationship between Defender for Endpoint and Sentinel? Well, think about this. Defender for Endpoint is an endpoint solution which will detect threat at an endpoint level. Defender for Endpoint has got its own security dashboard. Likewise, we have got Defender for Identity, which detects threat at an identity level. It has got its own dashboard, security dashboard. Defender for Office 365 detects all the Office 365 related alerts. It has got its own security dashboard, and same is applicable for Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. It detects any kind of threat at an app level. It can be Salesforce, Dynamics 365, and so on. But these are all isolated islands. They have got their own security dashboard. It does not have any centralized dashboard. So what Sentinel does, we can use data connectors. To be very specific, we can use the Defender for Endpoint data connector, ingest the security logs from Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, Defender for Office 365, Defender for Cloud Apps, and Sentinel will give us a single dashboard with the help of which we can perform investigation across all these different solutions. So it can integrate, it integrates with Microsoft Defender for Endpoints. So the workflow goes like this. Defender for Endpoint detects the threats. It ships those threats in Sentinel. Not only Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity and other data connectors as configured will ship these security logs to Sentinel. And as a SOC member, as a Security Operations Center personnel, we will use Sentinel's dashboard to detect all the incidents. We will perform the investigation. We will try to find out the root cause of this. And then if we have got playbooks, we will remediate them. Okay. So this is the reason they have mentioned it can detect malicious processes. So for instance, when a machine gets compromised, like for instance, I've got wrong intentions, I'm trying to compromise a machine, I have installed some sort of keylogger. So any kind of like compromise will basically create or certain processes within the system, some suspicious processes within the system. And generally, these kind of processes always runs in a stealth mode. Sometimes the monitoring tools can't detect these kind of processes. The other example will be registry modification. So let's say I have compromised a device. I have installed keylogger and I've altered the registry so that the keylogger, like malicious app, runs every time the machine loads. Okay. So I can modify the registry. I can alter the task scheduler. I can add certain suspicious tasks to run using a task scheduler. So Defender for Endpoint detects all these kind of things. So once it detects, it ships to Sentinel so that we can perform the investigation. There are analytics rules in Sentinel which can detect ransomware and other type of exploitation attempts at an endpoint level. Okay, so this is the relationship between endpoint, Defender for Endpoint, and Sentinel.